beautiful people? Zach Dowdy here. Today we're talking about how to do Slappy Grinds the proper way. I've been wanting to learn the Slappy Grinds for such a long time. Last couple of months I've been really working on, so much so that I got a whole complete Slappy skateboard setup, which is like a big 10-inch C-Rat board with 215 independents and some like 53mm wheels. So basically, I've been really wanting to learn Slappy Grinds, and I feel like I'm in a place where I got some of the fundamentals down, definitely backside and frontside. Starting to learn some new tricks, so we're definitely getting to that towards the end of this video. Definitely wanted to sort of just talk about my progression and show you what I've learned, some of the tips, some of my perspective on how to do Slappy Grinds. Let's get into it. In a previous video, somebody had mentioned how privileged you are in California because you have the perfect curves, which is totally true. I can't disagree with that. But if you're interested in making a curve because one's not available in your environment, I made a whole video on how to cast your own DIY skate curb. I'll leave a link up above to check that out. I am going to be using some clear enamel today. That's going to allow me to grind and slide the curb a lot better. Similar to how wax works, you can just slide. It's going to work to your advantage. Definitely if you're working or learning on Slappy Grinds or any trick on a curb, use some wax or some lacquer. Let's lacquer it up so we can start grinding. For me, backside Slappy Grind was a lot easier to learn than frontside Slappy Grind. Now I could do frontside Slappy Grind a lot better than backside. It's kind of funny how you do that because I really wanted to learn frontside. I focused so much on that. Now it's a lot easier. And some people learn frontside before backside. So as far as which way to go and learn it first, I think whatever's natural to you. It really is kind of like a power slide into the curb. A lot of people have mentioned that before. You kind of just, you know, almost like last second power sliding into the curb. One thing I thought about is you could have your board right here and kind of jump on it onto the curb, and that'll give you an idea how frontside and backside can work. But when it comes to backside and frontside, I definitely think they both have different approaches. A lot of Slappy Grinds are in your shoulders. That's what I've really noticed, where like the bottom of your body is in a different motion than the top of your body, and that probably sounds crazy, but I'll explain what I mean in a second. So when you're approaching the curb backside, you don't want to go too much at an angle. Like you don't want to go too sideways, even though in theory that does seem easier, and maybe that's how I would approach it in the beginning. It's an easier way to think about it. But the problem with that is it's like you end up being on the side of the curb and not really getting on the top. So what I think is when you're approaching it, is hit it more straight on, have your shoulders churned. You kind of want to try to get your wheel up the side of the curb. I think that's like the real hack. And your wheel goes up, and then there's nowhere else for your wheel to go but there. And then this side of your wheel is going to stop it. From there, you really have to use your back foot and your hips and your shoulders to kind of shove the board into the curb for backside. And then as far as getting out of the backside grind, it's pretty easy. It's much like falling off a curb. You just churn to the side, press down on the back of your board, and fall down. It seems easier in theory, but when you go to get onto it, it's really hard to lock into it. So what I say with that is just remember that you want your wheels to go up here. You want to get that truck in there, and then that wheel right there is going to lock on that side, and then you shift your whole body weight onto the curb. In some of the slow-mo clips, hopefully you can see how that works, and then from there you can ride off. The problem that I had a lot of the times was getting onto the side. So I think the way that I was able to solve that throughout my progression is just going more straight on at it, and also thinking about having my toes on the side of the board when I'm going up, and then when I'm getting to the top to get into that locked motion, I'm kind of using the heel and shifting my board, my weight onto my heels. So you want to go toes in, like having your toes on the edge of the board, and then shift to your heels as you get to the top of the board. And what that's going to allow you to do is kind of do this almost like a sideways tic-tac motion where you're doing that on top of your weight distribution, also on top of the way that you're hitting the board. And you don't have to go too fast. That's the one thing that I really messed up with in the beginning, or like learned over time, is that you really don't need to go too fast for frontside or backside slappy grind. You can go just enough speed to grind a couple feet and then get off for learning how to do it. You really don't need to go that fast. You can wax it up or use lacquer so that you can definitely grind the curb once you're on it. Now, what I've learned as far as the frontside slappy grind goes, which is where I've progressed the most over the last couple of months, my progression is pretty slow. It's a lot in your shoulders, and it's a lot about how you get into the actual slappy grind. Similar to how it is with backside, but it really is how you get into it. And it's a lot about this like power slide motion. And something that I was thinking about doing is, if you have a line, like here in these parking lots, I have a line, you can almost pretend like that's the curb and do the same thing. That is the one thing I've really learned, is like how to use my heels to my toes, and like keeping my feet very like centered in the board. There's not too much here or here, they're almost in the middle, and I kind of just try to like balance them throughout the motion of getting on top of the curb. So yeah, you can use a line as your marker and just carve at it frontside, and get used to like trying to carve at it and go straight. It's almost like you're carving in and then going straight at the last minute. You want to carve, and then you do want to shift. So you want to shift that back chuck into it. That's a problem I often have, is that I get my front chuck into it, because that's pretty easy. As you see, if you ride into it, again, it's kind of the same thing with the front side slappy grind. You don't want to go too much out of angle, because when you go at an angle, you're going against the curb. It's more to ride up. So when you go out this way, you're allowing your wheels to kind of use the side of the curb. Depending on the shape of the curb, this one is pretty sharp edge. Like your board is almost like this motion, and then you're pushing that into it. And then you really have to get on top of it. And that's the other thing that I really think is hard. You almost have to like lean back, have your whole body back, like you're limbo, and then you're getting back up on top of it. So that way you're really using your heels to toes as well as your whole body weight. So you're really making your whole body kind of do that motion. But that combination of carving, then doing that, and then shifting your back shoulder up onto the curb, that's what really helps, like getting that back shoulder up onto the curb. And then once you're locked in frontside, sometimes it can be hard to fall out. With that, I'll say you can kind of turn your shoulder and close it off so that you're not falling off. And then you can kind of choose when you want to lift your board and turn out, just like backside. So yeah, those are just like some things that I've learned over the last couple of months as far as the fundamentals of backside and frontside go. I have learned some other little tricks like frontside slappy to tail slide. That was pretty fun. I'm gonna go meet up with Andy Mack and see if he could teach me some other slappy tricks. Right now I'm skating some curbs with Andy, and he was doing slappy crooks on this curb, this white curb behind me, which is really nice curb, double-sided, and it's mellow. It's like banked on the side, so it's got this like sort of more ride-onable sort of shape to it. So I'm gonna try to learn slappy crooks on this session. Hopefully I can do it. He was telling me basically you just ride that front wheel up, get your truck on, and just lean back. That's the whole magic potion to that trick. So let's try it for you. Slowly starting to figure out the crooked grind, slappy grind. I keep trying to do it like a nose grind. I get really on top. Andy was mentioning that you really have to get to the side of it. Yes, it's such a hard trick to do. The thing about slappy grinds, they're all so different. The thing with this one is it's like you ride straight in it with your elbow. You just are going straight in it with your elbow towards the curb, and there's no swerving your shoulders. With backside and frontside, there's a lot of last minute swerving the shoulders like we were talking about. So this trick is almost like, it feels like I have to forget about backside and frontside slappy and just do it entirely different. think I got one. Not exactly how I wanted it. I wish I could pop out, really figure it out, but learning to appreciate the process. I'm glad I just got the grind sort of figured out. Next time I'll be able to pop it out, but yeah, getting into slappy tricks is different every single time, depending on what trick. But the crook, it's definitely, you're just going like straight in, and you really want to do it. I thought he was going to do a crook, he did a feeble, but you really want to just like what Andy was trying to say is like you want to put your front foot forward like that and keep your whole body back, and then that'll get it to grind. And that's kind of where I'm at. I don't really know how to pop it out, but just getting to that point feels really good. I've never done frontside feebles on curve, slappy frontside feebles. I know how to do them on transition, and it's pretty similar. The thing that's different is you really do have to commit with curves. Like you kind of tinker with them, and since they're so low impact, you would think it's easy, but frontside feeble is definitely a lot in your back foot. Kind of similar how the crooked is a lot in your front foot. So you're using those like pivot spots of your board a lot of the times to really like hang things over, and a lot of times your back foot or your front foot, if it's crook, is doing all the work.
Yeah. That was good. Oh.
Good session. I kind of learned frontside feeble, still gotta work on that one, but I'll definitely take that and the crooked. Super hyped with any skate session where we can learn a trick, and it's never gonna be like exactly how you want it right away, but just stoked to kind of learn some new slappy grind tricks. Now I have been struggling trying to learn backside feeble grinds. Like I can grind them really good, but getting out of them isn't very consistent. I feel like you sort of have to like pop out of them because you get so locked in them. What's good about it is it's basically like a board slide. You just go over a little bit more and you bend that back leg and try to put all your pressure in the back tail, and then basically use your front foot to lock in the front of your truck over the curb, and then you can just hold it from there for as long as you want. Often the thing that happens to me though is I fall into board slide, and it's like kind of fun. Like you do feeble, board slide to fakie, things like that. It's almost been like a happy accident though. I wasn't like intentionally trying to learn that, but feeble does work pretty easily. I'll say with that one is like definitely a trial and error. I don't have that one locked in, so I won't go over that one too much yet. I hope you all enjoyed this video, my perspective, what I've learned so far in the last couple of months of learning slappy grinds. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. I'm sure I'll make another slappy video. I love learning slappy grinds. They're so fun. Make sure you smash that like button if you enjoyed this video 5,000 times. If you enjoyed it a lot, subscribe if you're not already. See you guys in the next one. MASH.